All right, let's go. Hello, and welcome back to my drawing journal for the month of July. As always, my name is Freddie, and it's the second half of the year now. It's hard to believe it's come this fast. It's going to be another short journal entry this time, and we'll cover weeks 27 to 30. We'll get right into it. Start with week 27, Sandrine LT. This is Sandrine. It is my friend Sandra's character from the MMO Latale. This drawing has been something that I've been wanting to do for a while now. In fact, it's been years since I've attempted her character, but I never really knew how to approach it. A little bit of a backstory. I used to play a lot of Latale with my friend Sandra, who I just call Sand, and it was just a fun experience. Granted, I personally didn't play for a very long time like she did. In fact, most of my time was getting a character leveled from beginning to end in a matter of a week to meet the ongoing events criteria needed to get a free max level character. The game already throws a lot of levels at you, so getting to a high level isn't really an issue. Though when we were playing and doing the event, we practically waited until near the end of the event to actually do it. So much so that we both didn't think we'd make it and ended up meeting two other people who wanted to recruit us to their guild. So they ended up partying with us and grinded us to max level in a couple of hours. They took the time to grind the last levels by repeatedly killing things over and over with the hopes of us joining their guild. Funny thing is, we never saw them again after that. Of course, we also didn't play a lot more after that, but that's just how it goes sometimes. There's always been certain things that I've really enjoyed about drawing others' characters. The first thing is you get to interpret their character as a more fleshed out visual representation of them. This is especially true if the game itself has smaller details, smaller sprites, or when it's just too hard to see what it's supposed to look like. In those cases, you do your best to use what you can to work with, like official class art for the game that you're playing, and you add in the change and what's different about their version of it. In a way, it's a fun puzzle of putting the details together. The second thing is that it's their character with their personal touches. Everyone's character is different and puts their own spin on them with every piece they've selected as their look. I've run into numerous people over the years who are quite talented at putting looks together. In turn, what ends up happening is it ends up pulling me in to have their character come to life in an illustration. Looking back, I'm sure I've done this with almost every game I've played that involved other people and has hefty customization. To me, it's always fascinating to see what others end up molding. This case was no different. Sand's always come up with really good looks, so it's always made me interested in drawing her characters, even though I barely ever done so. She's already a fashionista of sorts in real life, so I know it'll always come out looking good. I have attempted to draw this before, but I gave up less than halfway through. I did like the pose a lot, but I found continuing to be too intimidating and I left it undone. And so, seeing how this journal has really made me rip many band aids off of what I've always wanted to draw, redraw, try out, what have you, I tried it again. The characteristics and aim for Sandrine as a character has always been for her to be this total boss that can walk into a room confident and exude sex. The pose itself is very reminiscent of a move in the game where she jumps in the air and fires while upside down. I remember it fondly because I at one point helped her level at Tiger Temple for hours on end. The pose turned out having a lot of motion behind it that ended up turning out great in my opinion. I had thought of using the pose I tried in the past and ultimately decided against it. Maybe for another time, the new one just felt fresh. Some details I wish I took a bit longer with was the hair. It's not terrible, but I know I could have spent more time on it just to make it flow better. In the end, I hope you like it, Sand. Other than that, I feel like having drawn this after wanting to for so long feels like a good accomplishment. Week 28, Sorceress Summer. We're in mid July at this point, and it's hit me that I haven't really done many summer drawings yet. What better way to kick off the summer drawings than to have a character from my first week known to all as the Red Sorceress? I decided on it being her only because it's something her character wouldn't be doing so openly like this. Her character is pretty reserved most of the time, not letting her outer walls come down and let herself have any inkling of a good time. So, in a way, it works to have a character not normally in this position actually be in this position. I don't know. To me, it makes for an interesting drawing because I know her backstory. I guess for everyone else, it's just another girl in a bikini. The angle's a bit challenging. Faces angled up or from below is something I run into problems from time to time, but it's good practice, I think. The overall subject matter, pose, and clothes, admittedly, aren't very challenging as a whole. I guess the tricky part is how you're going to complicate this enough to make it a bit more intricate and not something too simple. I could have easily have just done a simple color and no patterns on the bikini, but I needed to make it a bit more interesting without making it too distracting. The background was simple enough. It's a beach. Blue skies and ocean water aren't too difficult to depict. It's definitely a departure from the first sorceress drawing I did in the year. I hope to do more of her and eventually give her a name, but in the end, it was something fun to try out. Week 29, Marley the Waitress. One of the things I've admired artists doing is depicting their characters, no matter how silly or serious the series is, in completely different scenarios. I've mentioned in the past how I've often referenced old Akira Toriyama manga illustrations of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z characters doing other activities not ever touched on in the episodes. Other anime artists do this quite often as well. I really enjoy this idea because it lets you break out of the confined idea of what this character is and does. I've sketched Kaylee especially in different what if drawings. I've sketched the trio of Sho, Zai, and Kaylee in a Western bar scene before, and another as if they're walking to their office jobs. It's a fun thing to try. In this, Marley in her human form takes a crack at being a waitress at a cafe. I suppose it's more of a retro cafe. This is also one of the few times where I've had to readjust a pose late into the drawing by quite a bit in order for the legs under the skirt to make sense. While I felt like the original skeleton might have made sense for an outfit closer to the body, having something flowy like her dress made her legs look like they shifted and suddenly her spine is completely out of alignment. I had to get an opinion of others just to make sure I wasn't crazy on it. Remember what I said about fresh pair of eyes? Don't be afraid to ask for an opinion. You can be really good at what you do, but you can always learn. In terms of the way it got colored, I bounced around a lot for how I wanted to finish this. I had a loose idea of what I wanted, and I thought I could add some halftone patterns with bold color streaks and see how that looked. It wasn't bad, but I wasn't feeling the way I was applying it initially. Then I tried gradients and other colors. Something was gelling at this point, but I still didn't know what. Of course, the easiest thing for me to do at this point was to do a traditional coloring with the regular background and call it good. I really just wanted to do something different with this one. Regardless, I ended up filling sections in as if I was doing something more of my norm. On the other hand, dividing color sections like this also lets you try different things instead of just applying them to the entire drawing. One glaring negative in my eyes was probably the halftone pattern on her skirt. Maybe it's the way it doesn't flow with the light, or maybe it was the color. If there's something I'd go back and change, it would probably be that. In the end, I decided to just have fun with the way colors clash with one another. It felt a bit more playful and wasn't bad. Week 30, Sayako on the Roof. For this week, I tackled on reviving an old concept I had. It was an old sketch of Sayako on the roof of the school, looking into the distance, thinking about what the hell is going on in her life anymore. I've mentioned before how much Sayako feels her life isn't her life. Having her mother call all the shots most of the time up until now finally took a toll on her. What was once something she did to feel like she make her mother proud of her slowly came to a point where Sayako realized that her mother, no matter how much she ends up being put through by her, will never truly be satisfied. Her mother, while being brilliant in her own field, on the other hand, is the very overprotective type and only amplified after the death of Sayako's father. Getting into the drawing, the angle of it is probably the more interesting part. The original was similar, but it had its issues. I actually don't know how I managed to get a decent angle at the time that I sketched that. I mean, it worked, but it's surprising how much sheer willpower to make something look the way you want it can do. I think I shied away from finishing it because I felt like the face was going to be too difficult to finish. And I think back then I had an issue where some angles were very interesting in some drawings, but the poses were kind of wacky. In short, they didn't make a lot of sense. But I tried. The other problem I had is faces usually had no depth. It was like painting a face on a Lego figure. The shape of the face always stayed the same and it just had a different face with no actual facial features. Might as well just have been a smiley face, I guess. But having all that said, you learn as you go. I can say that about my old drawings only because I know the journey that I've been through. My advice to anyone struggling with parts they don't like drawing is just to keep doing it. It might put you off for a while, but struggles are what makes you grow. You don't face your struggles, you won't ever grow. The other part to me that's interesting is the sunset. Sunsets to me have always had an interesting effect on me ever since I played The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. There's a part where you reach the Dark World and sit atop the pyramid. In the distance, you can see Death Mountain through a sunset. When I first saw this as a kid, it sparked something in me about sunsets that I didn't know I liked. I always looked at the darker parts of the sunset and wondered what was in those areas. I guess you can say it left a mystery for me to fill in the gaps as a kid, and ever since then, I've been attracted to sunset scenes. Overall, I'm happy with the way this turned out. I like the colors and I was happy with the overall perspective. It's another one of those off my list of remakes to do. Week 31 preview is Pirate Flame. I've shown this one before, and I've paused on it to do it a bit more justice rather than rushing through it in hopes of fully fleshing it out. I've got some high hopes for this one. While I'm still finding myself doing a lot of these towards the end of the week, it's been challenging to do these during the week with everything that happens in a normal week. I also end up writing the script for these videos after all my drawings are done for the month. But I'll take what I can get for now and be happy that I'm still keeping up with this project. This month has been better for me overall. My focus felt better, and I was able to allocate time where I needed to, as well as just let loose and having fun doing other things. One thing I'm finding is my coloring has become more controlled and even faster. So much so that I feel like I take longer on the line work than I do with the actual coloring. Speaking of lines, I took a different approach to line work this month and focused on how to color a drawing. Rather, I was less concerned with finer line work and let the colors speak for themselves, no matter how messy the lines ended up looking. What I always think about are the character illustrations from one of my favorite fighting games, Blaze Blue. If you look really close, the illustrations from Continuum Shift are probably the roughest in the series for the line work, but let the coloring do the talking instead. Interesting, right? In any case, I hope you've enjoyed this entry in my journal. If anything about it has stood out to you or found to motivate you even a bit, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.